Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today we're going to look at the Fuso. I got Takagi on the screen. We're going to talk about the ship's diagram, how to use that right off the bat of the game, just because it's easily illustrated right off the bat. This is something a lot of players probably know and use, but a lot of players I'm beginning to suspect, I've talked about it in passing quite a bit, but I've never really explained it, I don't think. So, how we use the diagram, if you look at that ship's diagram, whenever the guns are bright yellow, that means the position you're aiming them at, they can shoot. When they're dimmed, they're not able to shoot. They're blocked. So basically, you're going to see me right off the bat, probably every single match that I play. We're going to try and find the steepest firing angle that we can get all those guns on target for an opening salvo. So the dotted line is where you're aiming on the diagram, and you'll see we just move it gradually to the right. I did it very quickly there, but as soon as it went from the back three guns being muted to just barely crossing the line where all of them are bright, we immediately lock the guns into position. Gun lock, if you don't know, it's preset 3 or 4. People always ask me, go to that, and then you can use the left joystick, push it in to do that. But basically, once you do that, that's the steepest angle that you can present. You can get all those guns at, and then shoot at the enemy. Then basically we're aiming, we're still using the diagram, we're just pointing that dotted line at the target, and that'll allow you to get the steepest angle possible. Fuso's a great ship, like the is it Congo? Yeah, Tier 4 Japanese battleship. Both of those guys have extremely steep firing angles where you can get all the guns on the target and maintain your angle. Both of them are not the most heavily armored ships, so you kind of have to do that. If you aren't focused on your angling in these ones, you're going to get beaten around very quickly. So, it's a useful thing to be using that diagram for all ships, and I do it constantly all the time, basically without talking about it. Whenever I reference firing angles, I'm never looking at the screen at that point in time. I'm always looking at the diagram. So that's, if you don't ever look at that ship's diagram, I would get in the habit of it. You can see, again, we're barely, we're still working on the firing angle there. So it's just something, especially for battleship players, I think it's extremely useful, since armor angling is kind of the main thing you need to be focusing on with battleships. So that's the class that you're going to be using it the most. But if you watch any of my replays, and once you understand what I'm doing, you can probably see me doing it throughout the games. Anyway, I'm trying to quickly turn away from here. We're giving the Bayern one shot, potentially turning away from these guys. I don't want to get too close to those guys. These Japanese battleships in general tend to do a lot better, either at max range or at least far range. They're not heavily armored. The actually is usually pretty good, especially once you work on Takagi. If you're using him, get him to a high level. Sometimes a lot of the guns are randomized. Sometimes you'll pull the trigger and they'll be all over the place. Or sometimes, you pull the trigger and, like, we got a shot on this Omaha here. Tight group, broadside, he gone. No issues whatsoever. And now take a look at the diagram once again. We're basically angled towards this Bayern. There were some cruisers over there. We were giving them broadside. But the Bayern is the threat. The Bayern is the guns. We'll see when we make a mistake in a little bit here with the angling. He'll be able to take a chunk out of us. But if we keep a nice tight angle against him, he can do some damage, but not a lot of damage. They're kind of surprising I switched over to HE after seeing that juicy 10k salvo, even though he's angled there. I think I was kind of predetermined to switch over to the HE. We're actually going to get a pretty decent salvo here. I think it winds up being about 4k, 4.5k with a fire, which for a HE salvo on most battleships, it's kind of like, wow, that wasn't that bad. But we'll shoot one here. We're going to shoot one more HE salvo later in the match. I think it's probably against the same target. It might be a different target, but it's more typical, like 1,000, 1,500 low damage. So a little more willing to use the HE in this game than I often see myself being when I watch my battleship replays. But we kind of see both ends of the spectrum here. There's not a lot of targets. I mean, the Pensacola was the other one. Usually I like to keep AP loaded just because you never know if good opportunities are going to come up. But this Bayern, he was basically demonstrating that he's going to remain tightly angled against me. And he's not even really shooting back at me at this point in time because I'm angled against him. He's going to give me an HE salvo there, but as this duel progresses, I'm going to keep attacking him, but he's got other targets on my team that are either more threatening to him or better opportunities just in terms of what they're presenting him. So, in this situation, he can close in. Maybe the secondaries will start going off. I got some decent secondaries on this too, but we're both very well angled against each other here. This is kind of a nice battleship demonstration of good armor angling. I can't tell from his perspective how much attention he should be paying to me, because I'm going to keep popping him, and he does have other people shooting at him. So he's in more danger, in terms of what I'm doing to him than I am in terms of him. But he's going to keep an eye on me, and we do go open a little wide here in terms of our angling. And I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. He just dev struck that American cruiser over there. I think we're going to try and... The mistake is here. We're going to try and take that Pensacola off the board, so I open up the full firing angle towards that ship. But he's more rightward on our screen than the Byron is, so we're going to have to open up our angle just a little bit more to get that salvo off. Byron recognizes what we're doing here. Yes, we're going to get the kill shot on the Pensacola, but because he's paying attention to us and because he sees the angle open up a little bit there, you can see some juicy shots coming from that Byron there. So kind of a trade-off, a bit of a risk. Good awareness from the Byron, keeping an eye on things and recognizing, okay, that guy looked like he just made a mistake there. I got the AP loaded. Gonna go ahead and capitalize. Unfortunately for him, we're doing pretty well. Our team's doing better against his team than vice versa. He was just kind of outnumbered here, and we had more ships shooting at him during this well-angled duel than we really had coming back our way. So in that situation, it's just a matter of time. We just got to hang with it, and we'll wind up killing them. Now, these are the situations right here where things get very dangerous when you got the lead, because we need to get C. This is domination mode. We need to capture a flank and the center of the map. Right now, we got the center, but no flank. Now, I'm going to suggest to these guys go over there, and luckily for me, not only one cruiser goes up there, which is all we need, but two of them do, which is kind of an insurance policy. Because these guys could very easily see me going down there and be like, oh, hey, he's trying to send us up there just so he can get the damage. Screw that, we're going to go down there, and, things can go awry very quickly. I can get killed at any moment. These other ships on my team can get killed very quickly. And if we don't address the score situation now, the opportunity to throw a game where we had a 3-ship lead a moment ago, now we got a 2-ship lead. The odds of throwing that are very high until you have the insurance put together and already taken care of. You need the scoring first, then go for the damage. Domination mode, you should I can't really think of a situation off the top of my head, but very rarely would you want to go for kills as the win condition unless you're down in score and you have to do that. Now, once you have the points coming in where you're getting the lead, you either already have the lead and you're extending the lead by getting more points than the enemy, or you got more caps now and you're catching up in terms of score. Then you can go back to determining, should I be trying to kill these guys or not? But you don't want to play fast and loose. You definitely don't want to decide, I'm going to try and kill everyone on the enemy team before you have the majority of the caps. Because if they're increasing the score in the background, and then all of a sudden it winds up they got a full health ship, you got a bunch of low health ships, and they knock out 2 or 3 of your ships, your ship advantage disappears. Then you've thrown the game, and you've thrown a game that you have no reason to lose. Like this one, we have absolutely no reason to lose. All we have to do is get the cap. They're up there right now. Once again, you don't really need that second cruiser over there, but it's not that detrimental to us. I'm going to initially angle towards that Fuso here. You're going to see we're going to be lining up the shot with the diagram, everything like we talked about earlier. But then the guide is going to pop up. It's going to be me and this other battleship over here near the destroyer. Now, whenever you get destroyers that pop up on the screen, that's usually a major inflection point for that game. The question arises, does your team capitalize on the fact that the enemy destroyer is visible and remove him from the game? If you answer yes, your chances of winning that game shoot way up. 10-20%, they go up immediately. 30%, 50%. Sometimes that guarantees the win if you get rid of those destroyers. If you answer no, did your team capitalize on the opportunity to kill the destroyer when it's visible? No. Well, now you're saying to your enemy, we'll find out how good this destroyer player is. If he knows what he's doing, he can single-handedly win the game. You can see right there, we almost just died. Just getting back to my earlier point of how easy it is to start losing these ships when you think you have a lead. But if that destroyer player knows what he's doing right now, he gets away without me killing him, well, he could very easily single-handedly win this game. So I'm basically in full sacrifice mode here. I don't care if I die. I'm going to swing those guns around. I'm going to try and angle towards that Fuso back there. Angling towards him keeps us alive potentially at least a little bit longer. Not as big of a threat. You wouldn't normally want to go broadside to a destroyer this close to you, but we just ate his torps a couple seconds ago. Yeah, we're spamming the radio because this is the moment in this game that will determine who wins the game. Does blue kill this red destroyer? If so, we win. Does red destroyer kill blue Fuso and get away and then cause havoc? Then their odds of winning the game just go through the roof. They went from basically nil 2-3 minutes ago to they got a pretty dang good chance and maybe even are favored depending on who's on each team. So destroyer is visible, shoot it. That's the rule of thumb in this game. If you're not comfortable doing it, go to an AI, only shoot the destroyers in those games until you're comfortable shooting at them, then get back into the player v player, and then shoot at destroyers when they're visible. Because if you're not willing to shoot at them, you're not actually trying to win the game. Anyway, the Fuso is a fun ship to play. You can see, if you've been keeping an eye on that diagram the entire game, you get great firing angles. You got these big booming guns. There's 12 of them. It's kind of a powerhouse at Tier 5. You just don't want to be caught broadside because that's how you go down very quickly. So that's why you want to be using that diagram like we talked about. Focus on the angling. That's Battleship 101, but it's extremely effective in the Fuso as well. Anyway, that's a look at the Fuso. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.